Okay, hey guys, Paul here from Team APS over on the second channel, APS Plus, with a neat extra video that I've wanted to do for a little bit now. It's basically going to be talking everything YugiTube, tips, insights, advice, other stuff. So yeah, I get a lot of comments, questions, DMs, all that stuff from smaller creators who want to get started, want to know some best practices, things to do, things to avoid, all of that stuff, just like how can they grow or just other specific questions. And so I think about this stuff a lot as one of the larger Yugitubers on the platform. I feel like I can offer some pretty interesting insights that might be helpful. So I've got a long list of notes with me, and this video is going to be a long one. So yeah, strap in. I'm gonna ramble. It's gonna be kind of off the dome. I mean, I've got it outlined a bit here, but basically we're gonna talk. Like, strap in. This is gonna actually be like a legitimate thing. Hopefully you can learn something from it. It's meant for smaller creators, but I think that anybody who's interested in YugiTube can probably pick up on one or two valuable things here. So I'll be following my notes so that way I don't get off track. I'm not gonna be editing any of this, so it's really gonna be just like, a straight shot. So maybe by the end of it, I'll just be dead. Okay. I'm gonna try to back up everything I say here with examples. I'll try to give examples of other creators who have done something that I think is like really good or really illustrates a point well. I'm not gonna beat around the bush too much. I'm gonna try to avoid, just sort of empty things like make, the content you wanna make, or be passionate and you will have success. I mean, those things can be true or whatever, but like if I say that, I'm going to try to back it up with some rationale, some sort of example. All right, now let's get to the disclaimers. So, number one, this should be super obvious, but I feel like I have to say it because there's no one secret to success. If there was, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be making this video. We'd all, just be huge Yu-Gi-Oh channels. This is just meant to be helpful. You can take the information I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to try to make it valuable. I'm going to try to validate it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's up to you to apply it. And as always, it's going to come down to patience. It's going to come down to hard work. It's going to come down to a little bit of luck. You're going to have to stick with it. You're going to have to, take it seriously, be persistent, constantly try to improve. These are basic things, but I put them out there now so that you can know, this isn't like a sort of Krusty Krab secret formula type of video. It's just supposed to be an informative video and one where hopefully you can learn a lot. Yeah, like I said, again, everything I'm saying is going to just come from my experience and my observations. I'm not saying that I know best. I'm not saying that there's one way of doing things. I'm going to provide actually what I'm hoping will be a lot of different approaches that can apply to different channels. So it's not just like, oh, I'm trying to tell you to make everything exactly the way Team APS does, or make everything the way Simo does, or Sam, or whoever. It's just going to be lots of examples, lots of instances, things like that. What can work for one person might not work for another, but I'm going to try to cover a lot of different angles. This is also not meant to be sort of anti-insert creator here. It's not supposed to be a beef drama thing. I watch lots of Yugitubers. There's not a Yugituber that I hate. There's ones that I prefer to watch. There's ones that it's just not my thing. I don't hate anybody. Everyone's out here working really hard. So, as I always say, don't go hating on people. Don't say that so-and-so is an awful person and you can't stand them and they should quit or whatever. Or, like, I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. Everyone's out here trying their best. Support your favorite creators, try to emulate them, whatever. If you don't like somebody, just don't watch them. This video is meant for like Yu-Gi-Oh content creators, not so much Yu-Gi-Oh players. So we're not really going to be talking a lot about, the trading card game here. I'm not going to be giving like my thoughts on the format or my thoughts on some pack or some deck or some card. I mean, it could come up in a very indirect form, but no, we're going to be focusing like content strategy, like videos, titles, thumbnails, brands, topics, marketing, engagement, click-through stuff, like those types of things. So, if you can stick around for the ride, but this is really more so for the aspiring content creators out there. There's actually a difference between Yu-Gi-Oh players and sort of Yu-Gi-Oh content creators, which is something big that we'll be getting into, but that's a little bit later. And the last couple of things is let go of a few ideas or preconceptions you might have in your head. One, let go of the idea of clickbait. This is something I hear a lot where people are like, I hate clickbait, or I'll never do clickbait. You know, I'm not gonna lie to my audience and be fake about everything. Leave it at the door, okay? This is YouTube. You have one goal here, and one goal only. Get clicks. You are trying to get people to watch your videos. You are trying to gain a following, gain an audience. You're trying to grow. To that end, your videos need to be clickable. I think people oftentimes mistake the idea of clickbait with like, okay, if I have a video and the thumbnail is giant anime titties, right? And then you click on it and it's me showing my Phantom Knight deck or something, that's clickbait. That is, you know, I lied to you. That's like the really, I guess, toxic brand of clickbait. And a lot of times that actually doesn't like exist in YouTube anymore. They've taken a lot of measures to counter that. So that doesn't really cut it. You'll even learn a little bit about that in this video, hopefully. But it's not clickbait to just sort of say this is the best dinosaur deck or whatever, like Team Samurai X1 does, or, you know, this crazy combo is gonna make players quit, or this thing needs to be banned, or I pulled a load of hollows in these packs. That's exaggerative titling, but it's not clickbait. I mean, if I title a video and I say like, oh, wow, I pulled so many hollows, and like you watch the video and I did in fact pull a lot of hollows out of a few packs, it's not clickbait. It's, you know, you could say that it's exaggerated, or you could say that, you know, it's sort of being embellished. That's how you get the clicks. You're trying to get clicks. That's what you're trying to get. So let go of the idea of like clickbait and the whole like moral high ground of I'm not going to do it. That's not what we're here for. I'm here to just help you, give you information, give you ideas. Next, let go of the idea of originality. So in YugiTube at least, for sure, but this can apply to many mediums. Look, I see people who complain that, like, you know, so-and-so stole someone's like segment or someone's idea from their channel. Farfa stole this idea, Nim stole this idea, so-and-so stole this idea from Team APS. Don't worry about it. Like, your goal is to be, you know, to add your own personal twist onto things. Mimicry is flattery. That's always like a long-standing thing in the art world and other worlds, I guess. Don't worry so much about like somebody kind of taking your idea, or like that don't worry that you're like, you know, stealing someone's idea. We're all talking about the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG here. There's only so many things you can do. You can show a deck profile, you can show a duel, you can, you know, talk about a new product or open a product. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, most content forms are going to sort of trace back to some of those basic things. So you could say like, okay, let's say Gage's sealed only challenge, right? Like, he's taking a structure deck, opening packs every week, and like improving the deck. That's a pack opening. It's that at its core, it's a pack opening. Are you stealing that because you're doing a pack opening too? No, not really. A lot of what gives that segment its, you know, star power is his personality, his vibe, his edits, his take on it. We'll get into a lot more of that later, but just let go of the idea that like someone's stealing your segment or that you're stealing someone's idea. Just do what you want to do. It's YugiTube. And the last thing is try to avoid victim complex. This is something I hear a lot. A lot of people sort of have this idea that, like, you know, like the bigger Yugitubers are trying to like step on the little guy and like keep the little guy down, or, you know, they don't deserve the views they get. I'm doing it just as well as them and no one wants to watch me. Like I said, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. If you're not getting clicks, if you're not getting watched, there's probably like a good reason for it. So try not to just sort of have like a self-defeating victim mentality. In instances like this, it doesn't really get you very far. So yeah, I think that's everything for the disclaimers. I'm going to take a quick sip of water so that I can get into the nitty-gritty. Okay. Let's start with YouTube things. So these are things that you need to know about YouTube before we even get into YugiTube. I'm not going to go into a load of depth about this stuff. If you want to read more about it, there are plenty of great resources. There's videos. YouTube has like a creator camp thing. You can learn about these concepts, and I advise you to do so. Read about this stuff. I know a lot of people just want to like make these Yu-Gi-Oh videos and hope that things go well, but like reading about some of these concepts will help you tremendously. What are the concepts? Okay, first things first. click-through rate and watch time. This is something that's really important. What is click-through rate? Click-through rate is basically how often people clicked on your video when it was shown to them in any form. If it was shown to them on the home page, if it was shown to them on their subscription feed, if it was shown to them in search results, did they choose to click it or not? So for instance, if my video got shown to 100 different people on their home page, for instance, and 7 of them chose to click on it while the other 93 didn't, then my click-through rate is 7%. So you can take that and multiply it times potentially thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. Your video will get surfaced to people and they'll choose whether or not they want to click on it. If they click on it, then your click-through rate is going up. If they choose to ignore it and click on something else, then it's not. That's important for like, so you're probably thinking, okay, well, duh, that's really obvious. Here's why that's pretty important. If you have a high click-through rate and it shows YouTube's algorithm that people are choosing to click this when it's recommended to them, so the algorithm has more incentive to further recommend it to other people. How do you get a good click-through rate? It really does tie into thumbnail and title to an almost like frightening degree. So, you know, you have to consider what your audience is, what people are like looking for, and what in a title and in a thumbnail in tandem will make somebody click. If I sort of said let's take a Larry in the Hole episode, right? If you've watched our channel, you know all about Larry in the Hole. The thumbnails for them typically involve a picture of him, right? Like he's there, he's holding packs, and he's usually in the store where we go. So you get a lot of context in a thumbnail like that. It sort of starts a bit of a narrative, right? This is a guy. He's excited, he's happy, he's got packs in his hand that he's buying, and he's at what looks like a store, a Walmart or a Target or a GameStop or whatever. And then you kind of combine that with whatever your title of choice is. Like, for instance, we'll typically go for something along the lines of like, you know, we pulled some crazy hollows here or whatever, right? That is more clickable than if I used the same title, but the thumbnail was just a picture of like a structure deck sitting on a table, right? That's a very different vibe. It's also different if I had the same thumbnail, but the title was something like opening Yu-Gi-Oh packs. Not as exciting. So your thumbnail and your title do need to work together so that you can have a strong click-through rate. You have to consider what would be exciting to you as a Yu-Gi-Oh player when you log onto YouTube and go to the homepage, or when you're scrolling through the app. What would look exciting? If your thumbnails, you know, are too dull, or your titles are too dull, or your title doesn't match your thumbnail, or your thumbnail doesn't really match your title, you want to kind of get those all in a bit of a sync. We might get a little more into that later, but that's the gist of what click-through rate is. Next is watch time. So watch time and watch percentage, they're sort of related. So basically this is how long people watch your videos. If you have a 10-minute long video and people watch it for only 2 minutes of the 10 minutes, then your average watch time is something like 20%. So if you have higher watch time, then YouTube will again recommend your videos more. Now you remember how I was talking about clickbait, right? And how YouTube's actually taken a lot of steps to contest clickbait and fight against it. Watch time and watch percentage combined with click-through rate is basically how they've done that. So if I make a video where I say, pulling a $10,000 Yu-Gi-Oh card, right? And the title's great, the thumbnail's great, so you click it. So the click-through rate seems pretty good, check. But then you get in the video and it's me, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm just talking. Like I'm just on a tripod and I'm talking to you about how my day went and why I'm hungry and I'm sad and I wanna, you know, life just got me down. You're not getting what you wanted, so you click away pretty quickly. You click away in the first like 10, 20 seconds. You didn't get what you wanted, so you bounce. My watch time is low now. My watch percentage is low. This is telling YouTube's algorithm that this person might have clicked the video because it seemed enticing, but they didn't stay for very long. So maybe that means the video isn't what it promised to be. It's not delivering on what it was like sort of making the viewer expect. So what you want to focus a lot on is not only having the good title, not only having the good thumbnail, but quickly delivering on what it is you promised people, keeping their attention. I see a lot of people who will upload these deck profiles, for instance, right? And they'll start the profile by talking about their day or talking kind of about like unrelated Yu-Gi-Oh news and stuff instead of just sort of getting into the deck profile. Obviously you have to have a bit of an introduction, but you really want to get to the point, right? Like I think that's really important with, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh players, which this is more stuff that we're going to get into later. People are really, they have limited time, right? If you make something and people don't feel like they're getting what they want, they'll click away. So watch time is important. More watch time, good. More watch time for YouTube means they get to serve more ads and, you know, people have a experience, and more watch time for you is just rewarded in more algorithm recommendations. Those are things to keep in mind. Okay, next is search and discovery versus recommendation. So this is something that a lot of people don't really know about, but I think it's highly applicable to YugiTube content in particular. So what is search and discovery? It's pretty much what it sounds like. You type something in on YouTube search, a bunch of results show up, and you click on the video you want from there. That's search and discovery. The alternative then are recommendations. That's YouTube's kind of built a profile of you based on the stuff that you commonly watch. And now when you go onto just the YouTube homepage or you load up the app and you're in the home tab on the app on your phone, it's recommending things to you based on just what it knows that you're interested in. So why is this important? Well, most traditional Yu-Gi-Oh style content, like deck profiles or maybe duels or pack openings perhaps, are kind of more search and discovery based. For instance, I want to build a Phantom Knight deck. If I want to build a Phantom Knight deck and I just hop on YouTube, right, like we're taking this in steps, I hop on YouTube, it's not going to like necessarily know to show me a Phantom Knight deck. It will show me some other Yu-Gi-Oh videos because I watch a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh videos, sure, great. But it's not necessarily going to show me that, so I have to search for that. And the typical Yu-Gi-Oh player will search for something like, okay, Yu-Gi-Oh Phantom Knight deck December 2020, or, you know, something roughly like that, right? And then results will show up, and they'll find them, and they'll watch them. And typically, we'll get a little bit more into this later, when somebody watches the profile, once they've gotten what they want, they bounce. So that's search and discovery kind of at work, right? If you make content that's sort of based on really specific Yu-Gi-Oh concepts or, you know, a deck profile or something where somebody would kind of have to look it up to find it, then search and discovery is your realm. On the other hand, recommendations kind of come more from general user interest. A lot of our videos on Team APS, for instance, might show up more in search and discovery because they're skits, right? Like it's okay, a funny Yu-Gi-Oh video, if somebody else watches lots of skits, then our videos might show up for them more. Or if they've just shown general interest in like Yu-Gi-Oh nostalgia maybe, then they'll get some of these classic structure deck things, or they watch a lot of sort of just, you know, versus videos, they might get like our Amazon challenges, our eBay challenges. But our videos might be kind of more recommendations. No one's gonna look up a skit, if that makes sense. So when you think about a skit from our channel, from other channels, you know, you've got like people like, say, Milano, right? He makes like, some really funny skits. You don't know to search for a skit because you don't know that the skit exists necessarily. Like oftentimes that's the case. The skit would rather instead be recommended to you because you just have watched some other skits in the past, or you show general interest in Yu-Gi-Oh, so now a Yu-Gi-Oh skit might pop up for you on your homepage. So search and discovery versus recommendations. These aren't totally mutually exclusive, right? Like they can definitely be tied together. Yu-Gi-Oh news oftentimes sort of fits in both camps where people might look up news about a new archetype that just got announced, but it also might just sort of get presented to them. So for many channels, most of your views might come from recommendations, but then for other videos or other channels, most of your views might come from search and discovery. All right, next thing is session viewership and keeping people coming back. So session viewership basically means that if the example I gave with the deck profile, if I want to build a Phantom Knight deck, I type in Phantom Knight deck 2020. I find some of the first few examples that show up in search, I click one, I get the deck list. Okay, interesting, I got the deck list, I bounce. That's like sort of the typical Yu-Gi-Oh player's behavior. A lot of people want to find the deck list, find that information, and then they've got what they wanted and they go. They might not really choose to subscribe to your channel, they might not even like the video or leave a comment, they're in a hurry, they want their info, they're gone. That's many Yu-Gi-Oh players, that's fine. If you can get them to view in a session though, that's really important. So basically, if somebody watches one of your videos and then they like what they see, whatever it is, maybe it's your personality, maybe it's the vibe, maybe it was really informative, whatever, they choose to watch another one of your videos, now they watch two for the price of one. And then maybe they even watch a third. This all just signals to YouTube's algorithm that, you know, they watched your channel in what you might call like a session, a number of videos back to back, like a binge. And so now it's sort of telling YouTube that other people who choose to watch this Phantom Knight profile might also choose to watch some of the same things that this other person did after they were done. So a really practical example of this might be, let's say that I make a Phantom Knight deck profile, I make a Phantom Knight combo tutorial, and then I make a Phantom Knight duel, like sort of Phantom Knights in action versus another common meta deck, like Virtual World or something, right? So if I can get you to watch the Phantom Knight profile, but in that profile, I also let you know, hey, by the way, if you really enjoyed this, I've got some combos in another video. Here's, you know, click on this here, whatever. It can be annotation, it can be description, whatever. Both is even better. So then you watch the combo video, and then at the combo video, I tell you, hey, by the way, also if you want to see this in action, because you just learned the deck list, you just learned the combos, maybe you want to see the deck in action, you can click here, I've got a duel of it. So now if I can get you to watch all three of those videos, I've got a session. That's far more valuable than just getting the view on the one video, and it means that now YouTube will start recommending the Phantom Knights combo video alongside the profile, and then they'll recommend the duel alongside the combo video, and it kind of ties them all together, and you get a viewer on your channel for longer, which means A, more watch time, B, a slightly better click-through rate, C, you're building a bit of an audience, you're building a bit of an investment because the person who's watching it cares, right? They had an experience with your channel. They trust you more. There's a lot more, you know, sort of the trust built, a little bit more investment in your channel because they watched 3 videos from you and they learned a lot as opposed to just watching one, getting some info and dipping. So you want to focus on tying those things together. Perhaps it might be smart then to upload all 3 of those videos back to back. Not like at the very same time per se, but you know, today is the Phantom Knight deck profile, tomorrow the combo video will go up, and the next day the duel will go up. Maybe you could even make that, oh, I don't know, a trend. Every week when you do a profile, it follows that formula, building expectations and habits. And then when people do that enough, now your channel will just start getting recommended to them. They don't even have to search for it. They're more likely to subscribe, of course, and that's good, but as we'll get into in a bit, subscriptions are kind of more of a vanity metric. At the end of the day, like views are the more important thing to be focusing on. So yeah, that's a good example of how that all works. Session views, keeping people coming back. Okay, so now we get to talk a little bit about YugiTube itself. What is YugiTube? What's the sort of core fundamental stuff going on in this circus that we call YugiTube? So I've alluded to the differences between a Yu-Gi-Oh player and a Yu-Gi-Oh content creator. What do I mean by that? What the heck is Paul talking about? So a lot of people start YugiTubing because they're an avid Yu-Gi-Oh player, and that's fine. That's a good reason to start. I started that way. But there are some crucial differences between being a Yu-Gi-Oh player and being a content creator. So if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player, you play the game, you buy packs, you build decks, you follow the metagame, you follow news. That's a lot of what you're interested in. When you're a Yu-Gi-Oh content creator, it's more important to focus on how you frame this information or entertainment or whatever for the viewer. So your typical Yu-Gi-Oh player might sort of see a deck profile as something that's simply conveying the raw data. These are the 40 plus cards I'm running and why. Done. Video over. A Yu-Gi-Oh content creator, though, might want to frame it as more of, here is the best version of this deck. Here is a new deck that just came out. There's a difference, right? That's sort of where you also get, like, for instance, ban list reactions. That's something that's pretty relevant these days. So a normal Yu-Gi-Oh player might think, okay, it's the ban list. Here are my thoughts. Here's what got hit. Here's what didn't. Here's what should have gotten hit. Here's what shouldn't have. A content creator perspective might be, though, like, you got to be excited, right? Like, who's the winners? Who's the losers? What blew my mind to see get banned or unbanned? You know what I mean? So you have to sort of consider your content from the perspective of, you know, what is it that your audience is looking for, but what makes it exciting for them? Here's a great example, right? Larry in the Hole. Let's say it's simply, we spent $40 on some packs and the video starts, like you click the video and it's just a tripod over a mat saying, hey guys, okay, we went to the store and bought $40 worth of packs. Here's the packs. We open them. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, we made, $28. All right, see us next time. Subscribe, bye. Dull, boring, right? Remember, people are on YouTube because they want information, but also because they do want to be entertained. You have to sort of view your content as content, not just as information. I'll try to be giving a few more examples of that as the video goes along, but I'm just sort of putting that idea out there now, and it's something that I want people to think about as you watch and listen. Next thing is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is more than just the TCG. So that doesn't... Where to start with that? The Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG does comprise what I'd say is the majority of YugiTube content, but as you guys know, there are Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime channels that exist. There are Yu-Gi-Oh! Just sort of enthusiast channels that exist. Sometimes I'll make content that's not exactly about the card game. Like that, I made a video a couple weeks ago showing that I have like the Blue Eyes White Dragon blanket, right? And the Pot of Greed over there. There are Yu-Gi-Oh! Collectibles. There are Yu-Gi-Oh! Figures. There's, again, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. There's a collector's side to this. It's not sort of just the Yu-Gi-Oh! Metagame. When you're considering what type of content you want to make, that's stuff to keep in mind, right? Like you may want to focus more on the Yu-Gi-Oh! History, or maybe you want to focus more on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, or the Yu-Gi-Oh! Merch, or the Yu-Gi-Oh! This, that. And to follow up on that, that point, there's sort of a finite audience to how many people like care about Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like it's a niche. Like many things, there are specific people who care about Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think that something really important is to view it as like, I don't know if they call it like a pie chart or whatever, but basically core Yu-Gi-Oh players are at the very center, right? These are people who, they're usually very competitive players. They follow the metagame, they follow the trends, they want to know new leaks of new cards, how cards interact. They care a lot about rulings. They care a lot about event results. That's the thing. There aren't a load of those people, but they do exist. And that's kind of the core Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. They're hardcore. They care more about a deck profile or a combo than they necessarily care about my cool new Pot of Greed figure or my funny silly skit or your thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode 28. That's okay. It's a small group of people, but that is sort of the core Yu-Gi-Oh! Bit. Then you kind of have the semi-competitive, right? The person who they play, but they kind of care more about like rogue decks or something like that, kind of more just stuff like that for fun. They might be a little more lighthearted about things, not saying competitive players can't be, but they might be more of like a memer, they might, be more of a budget player, those sorts of things, right? Those exist. Then you've kind of got the very casual player. This is the person who doesn't necessarily, follow lots of competitive stuff. They just kind of want to play their favorite decks for fun. They might be playing, Heroes or Blue Eyes or something like that. There's a lot more of those than there are of the first two groups, right? There's more casual players who are just playing this game for fun, just want to know what's a budget deck I can pick up, what's a fun deck I can pick up. That's kind of what they're more interested in. There's more of them too. What am I getting at here? You notice that the more sort of casual things get, the larger the audience appeal is. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with focusing on competitive people. In fact, that's something I'm going to get into as well, but that's just something to keep in mind. And it gets even bigger. There's a broader audience there as well. There are people who are maybe just anime lovers or nostalgia heads who remember playing the game or they remember watching the TV show. They don't care that much about, a Halki Fibrax combo. They don't know what that is. They don't know what a Link monster is. They don't know what a Pendulum monster is. They don't care about combos. They don't care about the new products. They just remember that there was a boy with spiky hair and the puzzle and the blue eyes and the dark magic guy, and that's kind of their extent of, that's kind of their relationship with Yu-Gi-Oh! To a person like that, a skit might be a lot more accessible for them, or a video about a cool figure like a Pot of Greed base, or my Yu-Gi-Oh! Funko Pop collection. That kind of might be a little more interesting to those people. That said, they'll have very different viewing habits. You can't rope them into watching a deck profile. You can't rope them into really watching, a pack opening unless it's like a really classic one. And so, what I mean by all this is you want to view these audiences as different. They have their own different tastes, preferences, viewing trends. They're not going to be sort of using search and discovery. Remember I mentioned search and discovery? a sort of Yu-Gi-Oh nostalgia head who just kind of vaguely remembers it from their childhood. They don't know all the details. They don't care. They don't go on YouTube and like look up specific Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. They just kind of stumble onto it and see like, oh, this is funny. I'll share it with a friend. Their relationship with content is very different from the Yu-Gi-Oh player, the core player who's kind of like trying to find the new virtual world list, the new Dino list, the new Infernobles post-ban list, you know. These are different people. And so you want to just keep that in mind with how your content works. Okay, next thing. Something that I call the treadmill effect. And this is something that I'm not as huge a fan of. This works for some people, it doesn't work for others. I'm gonna explain what I mean. So the treadmill is basically kind of what I describe as making a lot of content, but not necessarily to a specific goal. So I see a lot of channels who I feel kind of maybe overwork themselves. They'll upload like these videos every single day and it'll just be like a new deck profile, a new deck profile, a new deck profile, or a replay video, replay video, replay video. And they'll make a lot, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like quantity over quality, but I think that sometimes, especially if you're small, Yugitube is extremely oversaturated. We've established before that there's not really such a thing as originality. Everyone's kind of done a lot of the big stuff. I don't think Yugitube is by any means solved, but you know, like innovation is kind of difficult, right? Like you're not gonna kind of find the breakthrough segment easily, right? If I take, for instance, something like Sealed Only that Nim did, that was a breakthrough series. He, you know, made it, he thought of it, he pioneered it, and he made a really good segment that inspired a lot of people. There are like people who play their own sealed only things, like just players, right? And then of course other content creators took the idea and made their own interpretations of it, and so now it's kind of seen as commonplace. And there's plenty of other examples, you know, like you've got House of Champs or MCO40, you know, doing market watches. There's a few other channels that do them as well. They all do kind of a different take on market watch, but it would be difficult for you to just start doing a market watch and expect to stand out. It's just it's a hard sell. So what I mean basically by this then is you want to make sure maybe instead of like wearing yourself out and like making videos every single day, it can work for some people, but maybe instead of doing that, try to fix all of your attention and quality and production value into smaller sort of explosions of good quality content. A great example of this, besides Nim, of course, is somebody like, say, Ruggles, who, you know, he's done the Return to Yu-Gi-Oh series. He recently started his Sealed Only 1v1 series. Those videos don't come out every day, but the production value behind them is really big. It's an experience. It feels special for the viewer watching that 20-minute, you know, really tightly woven, very polished, very well-presented video is special, and Ruggles doesn't have to put a video out every day. That's an approach that you can take with Yugitube that I think can work really well. On Team APS, for instance, we don't upload videos every day, and we certainly don't upload skits every day. We upload like maybe 1 or 2 skits a month. They take a lot of time. We do have to write them, film them, edit them. You know, some ideas get scrapped, and we have to like meet up. And there's a lot of complications that come in making these videos. So I'm going to take a quick water break. Okay, so anyways, yeah, like I think when you're smaller, it helps to focus a little bit more on a good quality thing over necessarily just a quantity thing. I'll get a little bit more into upload frequency as we go on, but that's just something to think about. And you don't want to like fall into the treadmill. The treadmill can be rough because when the treadmill is not working for you, you're uploading like a new deck profile every single day, but like they're not getting more views. That doesn't feel great. I mean, you know, like you feel like you can plateau and it doesn't separate you in any sense. I think this is more prevalent in the search and discovery side of things as opposed to the recommendation side of things. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay. Next thing, this is sort of similar to search and discovery versus recommendations. Do you want your channel to kind of be more information or entertainment? There's plenty of examples of both, and there's plenty of people who kind of bridge it. So I'm not saying that there's one that these are mutually exclusive concepts. An information repository would be a channel like, say, MST TV. Big fan of theirs. A lot of information. You know, hand trap guide, side decking guide. He's done market watches. He does rulings. Like he does deck profiles. You go to this channel for information. Who does this appeal to? A very core Yu-Gi-Oh player who wants their info. They want their matchup knowledge. They want their side deck cards. They don't mind sitting down for, you know, a 30-minute or an hour-long breakdown of a set, a breakdown of a deck, a breakdown of, you know, this common side deck cards, common strategies, how to counter them. This is an information-first channel. There's elements of entertainment to it. Tombox, or MSCTV, he does skits. They're funny. It's just that, you know, you can take one look at, you know, his thumbnails and the video lengths and just sort of the video topics and know this is an information repository. Another great example of an information repository that I really like, El Exordio del Duelista. Incredible channel. They do really high quality, you know, replays, right? So it's like a new deck that's coming out or just has come out, and you will get just these replays with a lot of dense data packed in at the end, where, you know, they're going over like what makes this deck tick, how does it rate in these different fields. It is a great search and discovery channel if I'm looking to build a virtual world deck, a Phantom Knight deck, a dinosaur deck, an upcoming Evil Twins deck. I can search for it and they probably got it, and I can watch it and get the information. Those are like information channels, right? Entertainment channels might be something more akin to Milano, right? There are a few other channels that I think do a really good job of also bridging it a little bit, right? So it might not be, you know, pure skits. It might be something like Sealed Only with Gage, Ruggles, Team Sam. I think he kind of has a middle ground. He's got a lot of personality, a lot of hype, a lot of, you know, entertainment and suspense and fun. What's he gonna pull? What did he just buy? What's this crazy deck that's breaking the game? But it is entertainment and it is information. I mean, you are getting a deck profile. You are learning about a combo, right? Like you're learning what's in a new set. So like you can bridge that, right? There's lots of ways to do it. I would say that Team APS, for instance, we focus perhaps more on the entertainment side. Lots of skits, crazy challenges, you know, reacting to some interesting Yu-Gi-Oh things that we found online. For us, that's a very deliberate decision. I've chosen to not do, you know, lots of sort of meta-analysis or sort of a product analysis and stuff like that. I'm not really as interested in it. There are plenty of channels that do a great job of it, but it's not really for us. Think about that when you're forming your content, and think about the audience, right? You can mix the two things and make some pretty successful content forms, but you don't want to try to do like all of it in many cases. That's sort of difficult. Pick a realm like purely entertainment, kind of mix or like purely info, and focus on those, but just jumping between them all, I find is not as effective on average. There are channels, of course, that do, but those are exceptions to the rule. Okay, that's all for YugiTube stuff. Okay, now I'm just gonna answer things that are kind of more like common questions that people have. So this should go a little bit faster, hopefully. First things first, how to start. First of all, make a video. Make a video and upload it. Don't worry so much about like having the right gear. Don't worry about having the right editing software. Don't worry about what the video is. Make it, upload it, be done. Publish it, it's done. You're a small channel, you will not get a bazillion views. No one's gonna judge you for it. Just make the thing. Now, as for some gear recommendations, use your smartphone, all right? Okay, if you have a smartphone that you bought within the last like 2-3 years, the camera on it is fine, especially if you were just trying to record a deck profile, you were just trying to record a product opening. Buy yourself one of those, you know, Gorilla Pods or whatever. There's so many different like cheap phone tripods for like 10-15 bucks, and just record. Modern smartphone cameras have great video quality, that you don't have to worry that much about it. If you want a camera recommendation, one of the ones that I've recommended to many Yugitubers, and I'm sure they can all vouch for it, the Canon M50, the Canon M200, also the Panasonic GX85 or the Panasonic G7. All those are great cameras. They're all around the $400 to $500 range if you're willing to maybe shop used or kind of shop around for a deal. I think that that's the most I would recommend anybody spend on a camera if you're starting out, and really that's probably too much. Again, use your smartphone. But those are all fantastic cameras. They, you know, shoot in 4K if you're into that sort of thing. It's a great thing to have, even if you don't render in 4K. Won't get into too much of that. Yeah, great quality, lots of options. They allow for external mics. They're good cameras. They're great. Microphones. A microphone that I recommend to a lot of people, the Rode Video Micro, is 50 bucks. You can actually look up Rode Video Micro alternatives, and there are a few that are like 30 or 35 bucks. The micro's like 50 or 60, but I mean, you can find ones that are cheaper. This leads me into, though, something that I think is, also video editing software. I'm gonna make a video on the stuff that I use, like the cameras, lenses, audio, lighting, editing equipment. It's gonna sound crazy, and that's why I'm putting the disclaimer out there that I do not recommend that anybody spend a load of money on your gear when you're starting out. It's Yu-Gi-Oh cards. What you use doesn't change that much about it. I mean, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh videos typically don't have a load of editing involved. And, you know, I mean, you're showing cards on a mat, right? In many cases, or maybe you're recording yourself on a tripod, but it doesn't have to be absolutely fantastic. Don't worry about that. It's more about the quality of the content. The quality, not like the video quality, but I mean like the quality, the holistic look at it. A free editing solution that you can use that I recommend to a lot of people is DaVinci Resolve. It is completely free of charge. It takes a little bit of knowledge to learn, but ultimately works like most other video editors. Or you can use something like Adobe Premiere Rush. That's really cheap. What's that one on, like iMovie? I think that's on Apple computers. Yeah, those are all like free solutions. Some really cheap solutions are things like Filmora. You can get a license for that for like I think $40 right now, like as a holiday sale that they're doing. I use Adobe Premiere. It's got a subscription service. I don't recommend using it if your channel isn't pulling in money to pay for it. So that's why I include that last. Use one of those options first. Focus on getting your videos out. Now that leads me to the next thing. Try to improve with every video. That doesn't mean buy a new thing, like I need a new mic to improve my video or whatever. I mean, take a look at whatever your last video was. Find one thing about it that wasn't quite the best and improve it in some small way. So let's say I recorded a deck profile, but my fan was on. So you can hear the air blowing and kind of like muffled up the mic and stuff, and it has that sound that it does, right? In the next video, make sure your fan is off. Simple, right? Or, okay, this video was a little bit dark. So, you know, I was doing a profile, for instance, a deck profile or a product opening was kind of dark. The video, you know, dark means it's not going to look as great. So next time, maybe find like a desk lamp or something and move a light source closer. It doesn't have to be like a professional light. Just find some light source, move it a little closer. Oh, okay, last time the camera was too close up on the cards and like it was just cropped too tightly. So next time, try to find a way to move the camera back a little bit, make the tripod go up a little higher, or, you know, move something, you know what I mean? Find these small things with each video, and each time you do that, try to just a small change. If you make a small change every single video you make, you'll quickly start to make better videos. They look a little better, they sound a little better. This can apply to your presentation and how you speak. You feel like you said too many ums, maybe try to do a rehearsal next time so you can have fewer ums. Or, you know, you could edit them out, of course. Things like that. You feel like you're breathing too much, or you feel like, you know, big drink. Be like me. Drink water next time. So that way you don't run out of breath in the middle of a video. Try to improve something small every time. When you do that, you'll also start to realize what your limitations are, and that helps a lot with buying gear. If you find that you're recording these deck profiles, but you want a top-down view, that perfect top-down view, and you've been doing these profiles for months and it's just starting to really bug you, now you have a better idea of what you need to buy. Or you feel like, you know, the lighting in your room just simply cannot get any better without having some external lights. Okay, now it's time to buy lights, and now you can start looking into that. Or your audio quality is bad despite all of the changes that you had control over. You turned off loud humming things like maybe a refrigerator in the background or an air conditioner or a fan, and you've spoken closer to the mic and, you know, things like that. If you've solved all of those problems and it still doesn't sound good, okay, maybe now is the time to start considering investing in a microphone. Push your limits first. Don't just spend all this money, because I've seen people spend money and then they do YouTube and they quit. And I'm just gonna put this out there, YouTube's not like a lucrative thing. It's not something to do if you're expecting to get rich quick. There's a billion other better ways to do that, even on just YouTube alone. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, I think that's everything for gear. Just make the videos. Trust me, it matters more to make the video, put it out there, than to fixate on gear. Something that a lot of people ask when I sort of posited this whole thing on Twitter was developing a voice for yourself. So my tips for that: lead with personality. I got into this a lot earlier, but basically remember that there's not a lot of originality on YugiTube. What the originality kind of comes more from your personality, your presentation. Sam is the hype guy. Simo is the energetic guy. Team APS has, you know, the group of friends who enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh together. MBT has a very distinct sense of humor. Milano has a very distinct sense of humor. Solemn Yu-Gi-Oh! This is a really small, obscure channel I've been watching recently that I really like. He talks about investing and collecting Yu-Gi-Oh cards. He's got a really sort of like harsh, no-nonsense approach to things. That's his personality. That's what I like. Tombox, he's the judge. He's he's a stickler for details. That's kind of the personality he brings to it, right? Like, you want to be one of these channels that's got, that personality. You can do a sealed only series and your twist can be that you are, the vulgar type, or maybe you spend a lot of money, or maybe you change the amount of money that's like, basically inject your personality. Your sense of humor is your biggest asset in many cases. Not necessarily the idea itself, but just how you present it, right? You've got Ruggles, he's this upbeat guy and he's always positive. You've got Nimnem, he seems so cool. I want to be like him. That's what you want to focus on. As far as like finding your voice. Another important thing that I got asked is, sort of when you're doing something when you're in a really competitive space, like competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, how do you kind of find a voice in that sense? So, my recommendations for like making competitive content that's still really enticing and really engaging is be obsessive. You have to kind of obsess a bit. I've said this about like YouTube in general. To be a YouTuber, you have to be a little crazy, a little obsessive about things, obsessive about numbers, obsessive about stats, obsessive about some aspect of it. If you take people, this kind of goes a little bit back into the personality thing, but I want to cover one last bit about that. Developing some type of a hook for people. Sam sniffs cards and screams "Happy Tuesday" in like his videos, right? Those are things that you know him for. If you didn't do those things, you didn't know him for those things, he'd be less exciting. Finding little ticks like that. Simo's got, these recurring things like, buy singles. That's like a saying that he's kind of created and structured, right? Like Farfa, all these people, DZ, if commenters don't understand this, right? These people have these personality ticks, these phrases, these sayings, these running jokes and running gags and gimmicks. Develop some of them. They might seem cringy at first, but you say them long enough, that sticks with people. That's how people remember you. That's how people come back. Now, anyways, to get into the part about sort of being like a competitive channel, something that I don't think I see enough of, these are just some ideas I'm throwing out there, visuals are really nice. If you can have infographics, if you can have, some animations, some type of a drawing to illustrate a competitive concept. I've seen conversations about this on Yu-Gi-Oh Twitter about how like it's kind of tough to get into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh and find like meaningful content. Yeah, you can find deck profiles and combos, but a lot of people don't talk about like how to play or like how to approach deck building. I would love to see a really good mathematical breakdown of ratios in deck building, but maybe with some visuals. That's something that I haven't seen done a whole lot. I see people say, run 40 cards, or I've seen people say, 41 cards doesn't make a big difference compared to 40. And I've seen them back that up with math, sort of, but maybe try to take that and make it accessible to the average person who might want to hear it, right? Because, yeah, your fellow competitive player might get the concept just from words alone, but having kind of a visual or some examples can make that content much more accessible for someone else. A saying that I hear a lot in real life is, you're not really a great teacher if you can't sort of help anyone to understand it. You can argue a little bit about how the exact phrasing and meaning of that goes, but basically, try to take what you're saying and deconstruct it and sort of, explain it like I'm 5, right? That's like the subreddit or whatever. Focus a little bit on that. And if you prove that you're really passionate about doing that, I think people really do follow stuff like that, as opposed to just telling them that this is the best deck to run, or you need to be running this card over this card. Providing tangible examples why and illustrating it, like literally with physical drawings. It'd be cool to see somebody whip out an iPad or whatever tablet, draw out kind of, some shapes and some examples and some things. I would like to see that. That's the thing that I really think is very important. What are some other things? Branding. This is a fun one. So branding is obviously very important. You want to sort of create a brand. This gets again into that personality thing where people have their ticks, people have their sayings, people have their look. Something that I've always talked to a lot of smaller YouTubers about is kind of create a general look for your channel. A recognizable look for your thumbnails, a recognizable look for your channel icon, your banner. If you want to have like a channel icon, like a character, a cartoon character, that's a really popular approach, go to Fiverr. There are people who draw cartoon characters for like $5-10. You can get some really well done stuff. I strongly recommend it. There are people who make channel banners that do the same thing. And in terms of, you know, just making that branding consistent, right? Like let's take MBT. His channel color is like kind of blue and purple. A lot of his thumbnails, you know, will include some blue and purple. It's in his icon, it's in, you know, that type of thing. Or having a font that you use all the time. Making it so that when someone sees one of your thumbnails, they can't mistake it for somebody else's thumbnails. You know a Team Sam thumbnail when you see it. You know a Simo thumbnail when you see it. You don't necessarily know a smaller channel's thumbnail, A, because you don't know who they are, but also B, because if all your thumbnails are just like vastly different and really crazy and all over the place, yes, that can work for some people, but generally speaking, it's probably better to kind of try to have a little bit of consistency, a little bit of structure, recognizability. That stuff all helps. And you'll appreciate having, you know, maybe that branded icon or avatar and all that branded look when it comes to, you know, merch or sponsorship deals or something like that, because it makes your channel kind of look more professional, more put together. You know, MBT can sell a purple shirt and it just will look like it fits his channel, right? You know what I mean? As opposed to a channel that's just kind of all over the place and it's really tough to brand. One of the things I've always sort of told people to avoid, you don't actually have to, but I don't love it, is just sort of like making your channel icon one monster image, right? Like it's just, okay, my channel is a blue eyes white dragon icon. Not saying it can't work, but just saying you kind of want your brand to be your own and not just a Yu-Gi-Oh card, if you can help it at least. Okay, so yeah, all that stuff's very important. Next is growth. I've just got a couple of points here and I'm just gonna talk, and if something comes to mind, then I'll go with it, and if not, you can make something of it. So don't fixate too much on numbers, particularly vanity metrics. Obviously, you want these numbers to be increasing. You want to have a higher click-through rate. You want to have higher watch time. You want to, you know, you want to get more views and more subscribers. That's all great, but don't like fixate on them. They don't define you. YouTube can drive you up a wall. I've been there, you know, like feeling like, oh, my views are down. Oh, not enough people are watching. But remember, you can't entirely change all that stuff. There are things you can change and there are things you can't. Something that I always say is you can control the inputs, you cannot control the outputs. So you can control what type of video that you choose to upload, and you can control your thumbnail and you can control your title. You can't control exactly whether or not people click on it, or exactly whether or not they choose to comment, or whether or not they choose to thumbs up your video, or whether or not they choose to subscribe. Focus on the things you can change. If you feel like you need to be putting more calls to action in your video, like, you know, telling people, giving them a prompt to leave a comment about, prompting them to watch another video, to start a session view, important, right? Or, you know, reminding them to subscribe, reminding them to hit the bell. Maybe you're not doing enough of it, so you can do more of it. Will it necessarily make them do it? No. Will it increase the chances? Probably so. That's something you can control. Don't freak out too much about like whether or not it's happening, but just instead ask yourself, okay, what can I do to increase the likelihood that a person will enjoy this? Increase the likelihood that, I need to unlock this thing. Increase the likelihood that, you know, you'll get kind of what you want out of this stuff. To that end, analytics are important. So you're probably thinking, oh, well, Paul, you just said numbers aren't important. Well, they are important, but it's kind of more what are the actionable things you can learn from these numbers? So when you go into your analytics, that's where you can check things like your click-through rate, your watch time, what points in a video did people drop off? That's a really great analytic to look at. So let's say you have this 10-minute long video and the average watch duration is like 25%. Not that great, right? Like you'd like for people to maybe stay at least like half the video, 50%. You can go on YouTube and find, you know, where people are clicking off. At what point do people maybe rewind and rewatch because it was a funny moment, because they missed an important detail, and where were they choosing to kind of drop off? Where, like, oh, all right, so at the end of, so this deck profile that was 10 minutes long, you finished the deck after 7 minutes, and in the last 3 minutes of the video, you're just blabbering about random stuff. They probably clicked away. Or maybe you take too long to start your video. They clicked, they wanted to get the info, they didn't get it immediately, so they bounced, right? Like you don't have a long time. Attention spans are short. They just are searching for a Phantom Knight deck. They will bounce and just look at the next one because they want the information, right? So what can you take out of that information, right? What can you take out of that data? All right, maybe if you're starting your deck profile 2.5, 3 minutes into the video, get into it sooner. Start it in the first, 20, 30 seconds. Same with the ending, trim the fat. If people have finished the profile and they're choosing to bounce, then you don't need to even be including that information in these deck profiles, right? And that goes for discussions, that goes for top 10s, that goes for all kinds of things. You don't want to have excess because that means lower watch percentage hurts YouTube algorithm stuff, the works, right? Okay. So that's kind of where I like to focus my attention when it comes to analytics. What's next? So upload frequency. A lot of people ask about this. YugiTube, I'm not gonna lie, it can vary a lot. It depends on who you are, it depends on what your content is. I made the example earlier of like Ruggles or Nim who put a lot of work into one video. For them, maybe one video a week or even every other week is expected and it works fine. I think for the average Yu-Gi-Oh player, my just off the dome recommendation would be, if you can get 2 videos up in a week, that's fine. 3 is probably the best you can hope for. I think once you start going for more than 3, you run the risk of burning yourself out, and then you probably will start to sort of see a drop off in quality because you're just trying to get something out. Make sure that everything you upload matters. That's probably more important than upload consistency. Is what you're uploading truly important? If you're just sitting here opening 5 packs of this set, does anybody really want to watch that? Is that really riveting content? It is not. Don't upload it. That doesn't need to be a video. If you're trying to hit a video quota where it's like, oh, I have to get my Thursday upload, I'll just upload this one random replay, like a single replay, it's like 3 minutes long. Don't even upload it. Just skip the day. It's fine. Like, you don't want to put out bad stuff. You'd rather put out stuff that you are proud of, stuff that is truly like a valuable thing. What value did the viewer get? Did they get a laugh? Did they get info? Did they just get nothing? Just a bland thing? Focus more on that over upload frequency. But if you were just looking for kind of a good general number, I'd say 3 videos a week. Once you start going over that, you're probably overworking yourself a bit unless you really do have a lot of free time and a lot of willpower. If you do less, it might be hard to grow. So only do less if you are really putting in, like you're packing in a tightly woven, big experience type of video. Let's see here. What's next? Segments are cool. So segments are a great way to build sort of a following, build interest and recurring viewership. Things like Larry in the Hole, things like Sealed Only, things like Progression Series, History of Yu-Gi-Oh! These types of things get people to come back and watch. Adding a narrative to things, adding a challenge of some sort to things can be a really effective way of getting more people to be invested in what's going on. Instead of it just being I'm opening packs and that's it, maybe, you know, I'm opening packs to see how much I can make week over week, like Larry in the Hole, right? Or instead of just, okay, I made some structure decks into a deck and I'm going to take it to locals, it's the Sealed Only challenge. Each week I get to spend a little bit more and improve my deck. What's going to happen this time? What's going to happen next time? You know, Progression Series, who's got the running tally, you know, as the new sets come out and blah, blah, blah. You guys get what I mean, right? There's been a big shift in YugiTube towards segments in recent years, and they work. They get more views. People get invested. They can also go back and binge watch previous episodes to catch up. Where does that concept sort of tie in, right? Session views, remember that, eh? Okay, so yeah, that's really important. I recommend thinking of a session. You can steal it from somebody. Like I said at the beginning, we are not here to be completely original. Just steal someone's segment and then put your own spin on it. Give it its own quirky title, change a couple of the rules to make it your own thing, add your own sort of sense of humor and commentary over it, do it with a friend. I'm telling you, that's kind of what you have to do. Don't worry so much about the whole, oh, I'm stealing someone's idea, I hope they're not mad. No, you just take it, make it your own, give it those unique qualities that only you can provide, only your personality can attach to it. It's a good thing to do, and it keeps people coming back. Having a segment every week is a great way to ensure people remember who you are, they have a reason to subscribe, they have a reason to keep watching, they have a reason to give session views. That's important. Okay, turn your channel into a community. As always, this sounds kind of self-explanatory, but like really mean it when you tell people, you know, to like drop a comment, like start a conversation, reply to people's comments, you know, give them a heart, right? Create a community thing. I think use the community tab once you've unlocked it. I don't remember exactly what the subscriber threshold for that is, but once you unlocked it, that's something that you can use. Even if you don't have access to it though, pinning comments is still a great way to engage people underneath your videos. Don't just say, okay, thanks for watching. Like, give them a prompt. What should we talk about in the comments here? Like, start a conversation down there, get people talking, get people thinking, because that means that they're going to be interacting with each other. They're going to be revisiting your video. They're going to want to see kind of the follow-up in the next video. Have you changed your mind? Have you read what these viewers have said. I've seen some people do sort of videos where like they do Q&As or sort of reply to people's comments. That's a little bit like hit or miss, right? Like if you're a smaller channel, you won't necessarily get a lot of questions to do a Q&A, but it can still be good to maybe just highlight one interesting comment that you read from your last video at the start of your next video. It lets the person know that they have been heard, and that's really good. As for the extra social media stuff, like having a Facebook or a Twitter, a Discord server, do it at your own risk. It's more stuff that you have to handle. They can be valuable. I'm not going to get too much into those in this video because I feel like that's kind of its own thing, but definitely just within the platform of YouTube, really treat those comments seriously. Finding ones to highlight, finding things like that. That's really good. Okay. What else? Getting involved elsewhere. So again, that can be like, getting involved on Twitter and stuff, but also comment on larger Yugitubers videos. Please not the comments where it's like, hey guys, check out my channel and then link to it. That's going to get marked as spam, and so I'm going to make it through the filter. But if you go on Sam's videos, Simo's videos, really watch them. Genuinely watch the video and provide a meaningful input in your comment. Don't just say, cool video. That's not a comment. Give an opinion, give some insight, give a really tangible thought, something that's like thought-provoking. Reply to a few people's comments. People will recognize your name, they'll see it. They might choose to check your channel out from that. You can maybe vaguely allude to the content on your own channel, but just saying like, hey, check out my channel, I make cool Yu-Gi-Oh stuff too. It'll just get marked as spam. No one's going to check it out anyway. Even if it makes it through the filter, that just sounds spammy. You want to interact and engage. Okay. Things not to do, stuff to avoid. So avoid update videos. This is something that I see people do a lot, where they're like, hey guys, here's just an update on my life or on the channel. I won't be uploading for the next month because I have to go on vacation and do this thing, and my life sucks right now. Sorry, I haven't been uploading a lot. Cut it out. Look, if you aren't able to upload one week, just don't upload that week. Maybe you can mention it in your community tab or in your social media. Don't make a dedicated video to it. It's a waste of time. Nobody cares. People want to watch the content. That's what they're there for. They're not here to really hear like your excuses. I know it sounds rough and mean. I'm just being honest about that. Giveaways, that's another thing that I always warn people to kind of be apprehensive about. I mean, a giveaway can be a fun way to sort of reward your community and reward your audience, but it also can lead to getting a lot of fake fans, people who will just enter the giveaway, but they're not going to engage with your content. They're not going to watch anything else. If they have to subscribe to enter the giveaway, they'll subscribe. And if they don't win, they'll unsubscribe, or they just won't engage. So it's not really earning a true viewer. You can do it, just be careful. You know what I mean? Like, don't rely on like a video that's doing a giveaway every other week or something, just because it might seem like it gets you a few fast results. Not worth it. Trust me, you don't want to build a channel on that. That's not a good thing. Drama, try to avoid drama. I mean, I don't, that's not really like an important thing in the context of this video, but hating on other Yugitubers isn't really cool. Calling people out and like all that stuff, I tend to stay away from that. I advise you guys to also stay away from that. Some things I mentioned earlier, avoid the treadmill. Don't feel like you have to upload just because you're trying to meet an upload date. Still trying to make sure that the videos that you're putting out mean something, right? Avoid that whole, oh god, I don't have anything to upload, I'll just upload myself opening 3 packs, or I'll upload just a single random replay, or just something. People got to get value out of these videos. Do not waste people's time. If people don't interact with you because they feel like, oh, this channel just uploads a bunch of crap, then YouTube itself will not recommend you, and that's not good. So those are some things to avoid. All right, I'm going to finish this off with a few examples of channels that I really like, that have been doing some of these things really well. You can check them out for yourself if you haven't heard of some of them. Most of them you probably have. These are just some examples of channels doing good stuff. Okay, so I mentioned earlier in the video MST and El Exordio del Duelista, and also a channel called Duel Entertainment, and there are a few others, but those are really good sort of deck list or just info repository channels. They're great channels if you are willing to sit down and just learn a lot of like info about side decking or something. MST TV is really good. If you want just deck list replays and kind of assessments of those decks, then El Exordio and Duel Entertainment are really good. If I leave somebody out here, don't worry, it doesn't mean I hate them, it just means it didn't come to mind immediately in my kind of impromptu video here. So those are some examples of that. Other good examples might be Let's see. Competitive content. So Yassine and Pack, those are two people that do a lot of competitive content. I know loads of people have been sort of finding out more and more about them lately. They're really good, I think, at not only doing competitive content, but actually making it pretty accessible. Yassine's got a really great personality. He's lively. He's, you know, kind of not like super high octane, but I mean, he also knows his information. I think he makes it enjoyable to learn from him. It's, you know, I like the lighting, I like the look, I like the personality. I think that's good. Pack, another one, he does podcasts with head-to-head battles, a channel I'm going to recommend here in a second. That's something that I really like as well. I like channels that kind of feel like they make the learning process seem interesting. These are two very good and talented players, but they also make, you know, learning about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Something interesting. Okay, some all-rounder channels. Obviously you know about like people like Simo, but I think that another really good one is the Kali Effect. He's a good all-rounder channel. You get some deck profiles, you get some duels, you get some sort of Market Watch-esque stuff. Thumbnails look really great. I like, you know, just the lighting, I like the look, the personality is cool. You get information, but you get entertainment. He's got a personality, but he's also tying it all in. All around, really clean brand. MBT, an incredible, you know, kind of up-and-coming guy, very funny. He does 10-minute testing, that's kind of what he's known for, but he also he has such a memorable personality and like sense of humor. He makes, you know, silly fun skits at the beginning of the videos. He's a really involved community member. He's kind of got the branding look on lock, and I don't feel like he uploads too much. Like, it doesn't feel like he's completely burning himself out, but he is getting a lot of content out there. You can watch some of his videos and you'll probably see some things that are done really well. A couple of funnier channels. You might like, you know, Milano. Everybody knows a lot about him. He makes really short, funny, relatable skits for mostly competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. Can relate a lot to them, but really any Yu-Gi-Oh! Player can. That's something I like. Farfa, obviously very funny. You guys probably know a lot about him. A smaller channel that's really been catching my attention lately is King Scarlet. Very funny skits. Give a look to him, of course. Let's see, who's next? Some unique channels with sort of some unique qualities. I like Crush Cards and I like head-to-head battles. These sort of like, you know, couple duo channels. I think that's a really cool thing. The energy of two people is really nice. That's something that Team APS kind of channels is just that we have a group. So these are other channels that you can look to if you want to see kind of a group dynamic. If you were planning on maybe making a video with, you know, a relative or a significant other or whatever, you know, a best friend, you want to have like a 2 or 3 person channel. Those are some great channels to look at. I like head-to-head battles. They've got really, you know, bright, poppy thumbnails, really great lighting and crispy quality. That's something I actually envy them for. And head-to-head battles, just all in all good. Also Crushed Cards, they're really good. A lot of pack openings, good deck profiles, a lot of personality. They definitely got like a look and an aesthetic to the channel, and that's something that not as many channels nail very well. So they do a good job of that. Ruggles and Nim Nim, I mentioned them a lot in this. They're all about the production values, making the video really feel like an experience. You can learn a lot by watching those videos. DZeef and Mega Capital G, they cover a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! History. So if you're into that sort of thing, those are great examples of channels that cover that sect of stuff. And of course, you know, pack openings, Simply Unlucky is really good. Cybernite's really good. Another smaller one actually is Ruxin 34, I believe. Yeah. He's a really good one. He's a smaller pack opener, but he's definitely been on the rise, and he knows a lot more about, you know, sort of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a collectible thing, kind of, you know, things about like investing, grading. Another channel that's similar to that is Solemn Yu-Gi-Oh! I mentioned him earlier. He talks a little bit more about that. He doesn't actually do pack openings, but he talks about it. It's a really unique sort of field to be in. And I guess while I'm here, I mean, just a small shout out to some of the people who write articles. Kelly Locke, Zakaria Butler. These are just writers from TCG Player. There are plenty of others. Those are just the two that come to mind the most for me. I interact with them quite a lot. And there's plenty of other people that I missed. So I feel like I've gone on long enough. I don't know how long this video is. It's going to be a nightmare to upload. But hopefully you guys learned a lot about YugiTube here, a lot about my thought process and some of my decision making, some important things. Again, I made this video because these are just questions that I get a lot. Hopefully I answered a lot of things. If you're still with me, share this video with, you know, a friend who maybe wants to get into YugiTubing, who maybe could just afford to learn a bit more about it. I like talking about this stuff. I feel like I could talk about it forever. The only reason I can't talk about it anymore right now is because I'm hungry and I'm thirsty, and I've got other things I have to get around to. So that's it. I think I haven't left anything out. thumbs if you like it, subs if you loved it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Good luck on your YouTube endeavors. All right, bye. Ugh.